Hi guys, well this week's video is about giving you an update and a projection where I see the future going. I got the idea because I gave a presentation to my wife and daughter this week. Why would I give a presentation to my wife and daughter? Well, it's because I was under some pressure as to contributing a bit more towards the bills of the property, despite the fact that I pay all the bills in the house. We needed some work done to the roof, cost almost £5,000, and I refused to pay for it because it would derail me from what I'm trying to achieve here. So my wife had to pay for it, and there was a bit of crying, a few tears, and there might have been a bit of alcohol involved as well. But anyway, the next day I was left with a distinct feeling that not everyone was on board with my project. So I thought if I did a presentation to them as to where I came from, where I am now, and where I see the future going, then that may be very useful for them and get them on board. So this is what I did. I hope you find it interesting. I started off by saying, do you remember nearly 3 years ago when I was working across the road there in a pub for minimum wage? Which they said, yes, remember that. I said, well, nearly 3 years into the deal, which is July this year, I'll buy my third property. And I just want to show you how far we've come. Because I was working behind a bar right there, and then I moved to being a taxi driver. And I currently make about £2,000 a month as a cab driver. Now I pay all the bills for the house, that is things like gas, electricity, water, council tax, mortgage, insurance, anything to do with the house I pay for, which leads me a monthly savings of about £900 a month. I have some in ISA, it's about 3,700 in a Vanguard ISA, which is I use my emergency fund and I drip feed £100 a month into that. Buy my third property. I'm going to come on to the cash in a second, but franchise, I said, you know that I'm starting a franchise in May. Well, a franchise isn't like a business starter where you're not sure whether it's going to work or not. A franchise is a copy, a replica of a working model. Now, if you wanted to buy a McDonald's franchise, it costs you an awful lot of money, but McDonald's will tell you how much you expect to make month 1, month 2, month 3, and so on, because they've done it so many times. So I know that come July, when I buy my third property, that my income from the franchise will be £2,000. My income from 3 properties will be £1,100. So what we have here is an income of £4,000 per month. Bearing in mind that less than 3 years ago, I was working for minimum wage, had no money in the bank, and I had £10,000 that a credit card did. So now I had their attention. And I said, let's go forward to the time when I have 5 properties, which will be in 12 months' time after that, so 12 months after July. And that will then be bringing me in £2,000 per month. Franchise will still be making £2,000 a month, maybe even more. And my taxium, £2,000 a month. So now we have £6,000 a month. And my dear, I said, turning to my wife, that's when I can afford to pay all the extra money that you contribute to, things like covers presents and holidays, should they want to go on holidays, and food, and you can retire. Now, I definitely had her attention there. So I said, let's go forward to 8 properties, which will be another probably 18 months after that. So almost 2.5 years, I get to 8 properties. Now, something magical happens at the 8 property stage, because at 8 properties kick out 3,200 a month in rents, assume they're all rented, which is enough to fund the purchase of 2 more properties every year, which means that from property 9 through to property 20, which is when I want to stop, 20 is my target, I can keep all the cash that they generate. So let's move forward a bit and let's finish my project, which happens when I'm 67, which is in 7 years' time, and let's look at the figures then. So the money from the property, what I'm planning is there is I'm going to drip feed into it £1,666 a month into my ISA, because that maxes out at £20,000 that I can put into a stocks and shares ISA. So I've gone forward when I'm 67, 7 years time. Now here's the thing, if you can do this, if you have a compound interest calculator on your phone, as I do, I play with it all the time. But if you put £1,666 a month into your compound interest calculator and use a growth rate of 10%, in 7 years, coincidentally, is when I finish the project, in the ISA will be £200,000. Let's assume I'm still working taxis. I may not, I may be too busy doing other things to do this, but let's assume I still am. Properties will be 20. And remember I said that there will be, from property 9 through to property 20, I can keep all the cash from the rents from those properties. And I think, and I've calculated that by the time I get to 67, there'll be 200,000 in there. So properties at 20 properties, I'm going to say I've got £30,000 each in there in terms of equity. Why? Because I have, when I'm buying them, about £20,000 each in there now. Is it realistic to assume that in 7 years' time they'd have grown by £10,000? I think it's a pretty safe bet. And also in 7 years' time, the house properties will have risen and I have to put more money into them. So there's probably going to put 30,000 or maybe something less than that if I can get them at a discount in there. So I'm going to assume that in those properties there is 30k equity. 20 times 30 is £600,000. I have 200,000 in the ISA, and in the cash, that says 200, I've got that in the wrong place, there. I've got 200k in there as well. Now the franchise will have a value, a resale value. The franchise has to be renewed, franchise license has to be renewed every 5 years, so we'll have renewed it by then. And I would expect that to be a lot more, but I'm going to leave that low just to build a margin of safety. But look at here. What we have is the magic 1 million, bearing in mind, that's net worth, bearing in mind that I started 10 years before that with nothing. And I did it all pretty much on minimum wage. So what does that mean in terms of income? Well, we've got £2,000 a month from here, if I'm still working the cab. If I skim off 10% out of there, that's £2,000. Is that right? It's not, it's less than that, isn't it? But let's call it 2,000, just to make the figures handy. Property, £8,000. That's actually it's £8,000, yeah, £8,000 per month. These are all per month, guys. Cash, I'm going to leave where it is, and I'm leaving that cash where it is because that is my yacht. And the franchise, let's say that's bringing in £2,000 a month then. So we've got 8, 10, 12, £14,000 per month income. Now, the cynics amongst you will say, well, Perry, that's a bit simplistic because all sorts can go wrong here. What if your ISA doesn't hit 10%? What if the property, the government changes the rules on property and says you rich buggers can only buy 10, that knackers it all up? What if it doesn't grow in the way you said? What if you can't rent them all out and therefore you're not going to hit that target? And what if the franchise fails? And all that's true, I can't argue, I don't have a crystal ball. But equally, that could do astounding, that could double or treble very easily. The cash is dependent on rents. I haven't upped the rents in 10 years. Well, they should be risen, so I haven't included that. So there's a bit of leeway in there. Properties, I'm pretty sure I'll get it to 20. The ISA depends on the growth rate. The average is 10.8. I've done down to 10%, but it could be less. It could be more though. And I might not be working here. But would it matter if I only got to 70% of that or 70% of that? Given the fact that my target, my original target was 300k in net worth, and now I'm fairly sure I'll get there. I can promise you at this stage, both my wife and my daughter are fully on board with the project now. In fact, one of the things I meant to do was to take it away. It was her 60th last year, it's my 60th this year. Was to take her on Nile cruise because she loves all things to do with mummies. And I said, I'm very sorry, today I haven't had a chance to check on prices because I've been so busy at work taxiing. She says, oh, don't worry about it. You're not spending any more money, just keep on with this. So if you like that, give it a thumbs up, guys. None of this might happen. It might double, it might go half. And that's why you need to keep watching these videos. So yeah, please thumbs up if you liked it. Any questions, put them down below. I'll answer you as soon as I can, which tends to be when I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. In the meantime, don't be stupid and don't be normal.